Our next speaker is Andrew Wallace, who's a senior development manager at Trammell Crow in the US, based out of Los Angeles. Andrew was one of the early adopters of Giraffe and has been with Trammell Crow since about 2018, working on some of the largest mega projects within the Los Angeles district. Andrew's going to have a go at showing us one of their projects and talking about how Giraffe has made an impact on the Los Angeles Trammell Crow business. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, James. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, perfect.
Yep, we got you.
So we're going to go very macro to very micro, and really my personal experience with Giraffe over the last year and a half. So today I'm going to touch on two areas of our local Los Angeles business that have been impacted by Giraffe. The first is early stage pursuits and feasibility studies. So before Giraffe, the way we developed the feasibility study was pretty fragmented and included Google Earth, local zoning databases, Excel, Bluebeam, and even hand sketches, not to mention calling in a lot of favors from our overburdened consultants. Complex pursuits often require assessing half a dozen potential scenarios to reach a site's highest and best use. Continually needing to pull all of this information from different sources was very time consuming. Giraffe has really allowed us to consolidate these activities under one user-friendly program and get to decisions sooner with greater clarity. So how do we get to decisions sooner? I've added local zoning data to my Giraffe layers to quickly assess allowable uses and max development footprint for any site. I've also added conceptual cost data from recent projects. So by the time I have a concept, I already have an idea of overall project costs that I can then take and work with our financial analysts or simply export it into Excel so that they can integrate it into the wider pro forma model. We've been able to make early go or no-go decisions without leaning as heavily on consultants, which oftentimes really it took more time or money than we had available at the time. And then greater clarity. So as I'm sure a lot of you have experienced, 2D concepts leave a lot to the imagination. So Giraffe has helped us gain early understanding of the next, what I'll call the next layer of feasibility. So items that would include parking constraints, topography, views, utilities, solar exposure, adjacent developments, things that don't really get as much attention, but from a developer's perspective are really key to making a deal work. So before Giraffe, we would rely pretty heavily on consultants for this information as well. I will say there's only so much design risk that we're willing to take on as developers. So after we've developed an initial concept, it's now easier than ever for us to be able to take that Giraffe model and use it as a brief to be able to give to an architect and a contractor just to take to that next level. The other area I'll say that Giraffe has really impacted our business is I've called the storytelling and problem solving. So it's really the stage after a pursuit when we're working through the pre-development period. So as many of you know, urban infill development can be pretty tricky. There are often multiple stakeholders with competing objectives and protracted timelines. Some projects are home run, but most sites come with baggage and have a narrow path to success. So there's a perception that developers call the shots, but really this isn't the case. You can imagine, I'm going to give a specific example. Can you imagine teaming up with a development partner to negotiate a ground lease with a government agency to build a spec office space on an existing university campus, right? That's a recent example that we actually went through. So getting all these parties on the same page and acting with conviction is really the difference between success and failure. It's situations like this where we've been able to use Giraffe beyond the pursuit phase to work through items such as campus circulation, parking planning, construction phasing, and overall timelines with visual clarity and concise data. So Giraffe hasn't replaced our trusted consultants, but it's allowed us to act more nimbly and react to changing circumstances. And then the last thing I'll note is I am really by no means a Giraffe super user. Assessing sites is actually a pretty small fraction of my job at Trammell Crow Company. So I was able to learn the program with relative ease and gain value really quickly. I know people throughout the company, regardless of their background, that have had a similar experience. And I think that's been the differentiator for me is we have a lot of people trying to approach us with different programs, but the adoption for Giraffe was really just so easy that it kind of organically took off within the company. So that's my personal experience, and also I'm happy to answer any questions.